enjoyed me playing with your name, Isis Wella and
Yeah,
Isabella, Isis Bella.
yeah.
I might be calling you that from as a nickname because it seems to include Isis in it. Isis Bella
Yeah,
and Isis Wella.
yeah, it does. It does include definitely ISIS. Totally.
Perhaps that's a good place to start then. Would and are you okay with my fuzzy screen? Or do you prefer a clear background? Because I'm happy to switch to a clear background. I had it fuzzy for some reason somewhere else.
Oh, whatever.
Doesn't matter to
Whatever
you.
you want. Yeah, I don't care.
I don't know where it is in the Zoom thing. What is it? Oh, I think it's in the settings of Zoom.
It's under I think it's under video.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Video.
You go video and then you go blur my background, choose virtual. But if you unclick that,
Where
it
would I
should.
find video?
So it's at the bottom of your screen.
I have stop
Usually,
video. No.
is there a bar? Do you have participants, chat? Are you on a desktop or your phone
I'm on the desktop, on a Mac.
on a Mac? Okay, so it should be where is the red button to say leave for the meeting?
That's it. Settings, got it. Yep, 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 yep. Yeah, there we go. I like my regular background. I don't need to blur myself. There you go. Voila. All right. Yeah, we left off last night with you reading something that you shared that had written about Isis. I wonder if we could start with that.
Yeah, well, actually, it's Athena.
Athena.
Um, you know, Goddess Athena, we were discussing how I channeled this and my hand flew so quickly. And when I looked down, I read the words and I was just like, okay. I was like a little surprised at how powerful it was and how, um, I guess, kind of strong, to be honest with you. Let me find it.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
Yeah, she she was, I would say she was uh very direct.
That's for sure.
Yeah,
Commanding.
very commanding. Yeah. And so it's interesting, goddess Isis is really the one that works with me the most. And when Athena comes, she um she comes only a few times, even though I'm her embodiment or her daughter. And it's interesting. But okay, so this is it. This is Athena. Heed my call, brothers and sisters. I am here. I am as is, all that is, with my wounds, with my love. I herald the new age. Do I heed with mercy and grace? I heed with my power to cut and birth the new.
That's such a powerful, beautiful statement of Athena speaking through you. And how are you feeling most moved to leverage that wisdom, that truth through your archetypes, through Isis, through all of your beingness, through your expressions?
So as as we awaken to our soul field and our consciousness and to our inner beings and higher selves, um, when I read those words, I herald the new age. Um, do I heed with mercy or grace? I was just like, it's like a choice, right? But she will, it's almost like she doesn't care in a way. She doesn't, I can heed with mercy and grace, but I will birth the new with my power, and
So the last statement of birthing the new with my power is not a contradiction. It's not yes, but it's yes, and I offer mercy and grace and I cut with power. So it's you've got both elements.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I heed with my power to cut and birth the new. And
Mm.
so when she says to cut, um, I really do see her cutting through the fear and cutting through the old, right? Um, and so it's interesting and to birth the new. And so the new, I am really aware when I first started doing QHHT or hypnosis, I went under because you do an exchange. And I at that time I was already channeling. But anyways, I was put under for my first time in a past life regression. And I went to Atlantis. And it was interesting because when I went under, I saw it's almost like they were choosing which life to show me. Because like I was a male, female, a different female, different female, different female, different male, and then it like stopped. And then I looked down and I was this male. And after that, um, after we went to Atlantis, I was channeling my guides under hypnosis. And they had said, and I had received this message numerous times, but it was to bring back Atlantis back to Earth. And Atlantis um, fell and rose 3 times. And when Goddess Isis was talking to me about my class, my 6-month class, and she was talking to me about how when she was incarnated and Thoth came from Atlantis. So the great flood occurred and Thoth came and really taught Goddess Isis magic. I mean, that's what they tell me. So, I don't know. Um, and they were best friends, and Isis and Osiris and Thoth and Matt really were a team. And she said, just like when I was incarnated, even though we had the mystery schools and we were doing high magic, because she was a high priestess, she said that I also taught the humans how to grow wheat to make bread. And Thoth created the hieroglyphics so that we could pass on the teachings because we knew even though the souls were very powerful being incarnated on Earth, the vibration of the planet was at a certain frequency and they would not remember who they are. And that was okay because the earth is really a school and only very powerful souls can be incarnated here because of the density. So not all consciousness, not all species will drop down to a 3D level. So, for example, the dragons, they are a consciousness, and their species did not go down to 3D. They stayed at 4, and they're higher, 4 and higher. So when I was creating the school, because I'm creating the school, she said to me, Isabel, it's not ancient Egypt that you are bringing forth. You are bringing forth Atlantis. That is a school that you're bringing forth, not ancient Egypt. And I was like, oh, okay. So,
Now, Atlantis, you said that came before ancient Egypt, right? Is that basically
yes,
the
it
history of it?
did.
So you're
Hmm.
bringing something that happened before, and what is the relevance to today, to evolving souls and evolving humanity in your bringing through this re-Atlantining?
Right. So the Atlanteans teachings are very similar to ancient Egypt, but ancient Egypt was at, they had just started to return to civilization after the Great Flood. And there was, I mean, she says there was some galactic interactions in that time, but in Atlantis, where humanity is heading, the galactic community will be living with us on Earth. So instead of a relative visiting, it is a neighbor staying.
Give me an
And
example so I can understand from the metaphor to, for example,
right, so right now, even though there's galactic beings, ETs, extraterrestrials, there's a lot of humans that have had interactions with ETs and our governments and whatnot, right? We are moving into a new cycle where we will have different species living side by side with us. And that's how it was in Atlantis. They
okay.
were humans, but there were also galactic species other than humans living on this planet.
And how
And
is it
so,
present already now? How is this already present? Tell us.
so the reason why we don't see galactic beings walking in Walmart or in our local grocery stores is because of our fear. We have way too much fear. And in fact, when some humans are around galactic beings, if their vibration is not high, the beings try to be very careful, but it could cause a heart attack for them. It could mess with their brain. It's too shocking for their system. So they're very aware that the frequency and vibration discrepancies have to really, you know, it's a thing, it's a real thing because our fear and our density is just a lot here.
And what are you doing, thinking, saying, transmitting to assist us all in transforming our relationship with this fear to something that's sustainable, that's empowering, nurturing, and
Yeah,
inspiring?
so I would say there's different phases and stages. There are, even me. One of the things when I was writing a young adult novel, and I was really doing a tremendous amount of research on angels. And I was doing research like Google Translate Russian documents or Polish books or, you know, it was great that the technology allowed me to access different texts and from different cultures around angels. And I was reading all these stories, and I realized angels weren't just from Christianity. Because when I first started doing research, I had only seen angels around in the Catholic Church. And when I was doing research, I realized angelic beings have been around with humans for a very long time. In fact, in ancient Egypt, there are depictions of angels. The archaeologists think they are spirits, which I suppose angels are spirits, but Goddess Isis was the one who said, Isabel, we were working with angelic beings in my day. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so awesome. So when I was doing the research, I did have this thought, what if angelic beings were species? What if they are real and they're not mythology? And that opening led me to my awakening. And it was like a little bit, a little bit. And then what I'm doing, because I thought about this long and hard, and I talked to this with my guides. I said, where can I meet a student? And so the student that I meet is someone who is aware that spirit guides are real and that they have a higher self. That is the point where I will meet them on the road on the journey.
Yes. Well, that makes sense. You don't want anybody who's saying, what'd you say yesterday? Who's beating up the tiger?
Yeah, yeah, or kicking the tires,
Picking
right?
the tiger, right?
So the interesting thing is, even if you believe in angels, the gap of awareness where I am closing that gap is we think of angels over here, out here, and we think like we might understand intellectually that our spirit guides assist us, right? But we think they have their own lives and we're having our own life, and they assist us every once in a while when we ask for help. And we're two different species just living on parallel roads. Sometimes we crisscross, but that's about it, right?
Not true. I can tell from your voice.
No, not true. But that's how I thought. It
And what is
never occurred to me how vital
mm,
and how intertwined
mm, mm.
that the spirit guides are in my soul field and that they are me and I am them. And they are very, very involved with your life. In
Therefore,
fact, you are never alone,
there's nothing
not
to be
one
afraid of.
second.
Then there's no fear is not needed. If every, as the North American uh, tradition, Indians have often said, and this is true across many cultures, wisdom cultures, everything is alive. Every object has consciousness.
That's right.
Therefore, we are in a collaborative uh, community, whether or not we choose. And for me, it always seems to come down as I get older and wiser, elder and wiser, to a dialogue, to refreshing the dialogue between myself and anything that I would connect to or speak to. Would you speak to
That's
that?
right. That's right. Because everything is a relationship, everything is consciousness, and the energy and consciousness are sort of like an electromagnetic field. You can't remove magnetism and electricity from each other. The electricity can mean the electrons are not moving, but there's still a magnetic field, and the magnetic field is still vibrating. So it's very interesting that the consciousness and energy is kind of intertwined, but once you understand everything is consciousness. So one of the first levels that I went to was everything is energy.
Yes.
And then I really began to understand that everything was consciousness. And then, I mean, it's a multi-pronged approach. It's starting to think multidimensionally instead of linear,
Yes.
and you
Yes.
expand your mind.
This is reminding me of William Blake, the poet and visionary's statement to see infinity in a grand grain of sand. And I don't remember the full thing. And that's also in a flower. This is our calling here in this hour. In other words, any microcosm, any moment, anything, any consciousness, any thought holographically is a little symbol that if we look into that thought, like those lovely pictures you see in the movies, and you look at these big pictures of the actual movie, and there's thousands of little pixels of the whole movie within that larger picture that's a picture of the movie. So as I see it now, any moment, any of the practices, like I do this practice throughout the day, as I told you, the ah, yi, I, oh, whenever I do that, I enter the zone through that tone through which I feel like that radio receiver that's able to pick up the frequencies and tap into. When I'm doing this now, I've entered a whole new way of connecting consciously with this practice. I used to just make the sound, for opening the heart chakra. But now when I make the sound, I'm first exhaling everything, like in the Course of Miracles, that is unlike love, that is unlike that sound. So releasing everything that's keeping from me from being in the heart, first the exhalation, then the inhalation. And I used to do that just for myself as an instrument separate from what's around me. Yet I do this in nature. And now when I'm doing this, I go, breathe in, and I'm connecting with all of the rocks and flowers and trees and stream that also has horizontal consciousness. Then I go into the which is upward, and I look at the trees and I feel it's not just me aspiring to great thoughts and lofty visions, it's all matter that reaches to the light. And so then I know I'm doing that exercise up about all beings, all consciousness, all matter, all that I see, all that I connect through all the senses, having that same connectivity to what we aspire to the light. The next one is breathing in, first breathing out through the inner core with the sound of I, the I am presence. Ah. And I used to, and then breathe in. I trust what I stand on, firm, flexible foundation that supports me as an affirmation. And now I no longer do that as a separate unit. I feel, and I look at the trees and I feel their root system and I feel their branches and their trunks. And I feel like we're all consciousness, all matter has this same connectivity of the choice of, and this dimension of up and down at the same time. Then I do the O, which I put really on the belly chakra and the second chakra. And that O is about all circular processes, everything that has cycles, everything that returns. And instead of just doing O and then breathing in, it's all that I'm connecting to through all the senses and beyond. The audience, their sentience and smell, taste, all, oh, there's everything, every sense feeling that connection to circular processes. I am all it is. I fully receive what I most strongly desire, deserve, and decree for myself and evolving humanity and all sentient beings. And finally, the last sound, A-E-I-O-U, which is going down like a didgeridoo to the base of the spine, to the center of the molten earth, with the affirmation of something like the more I trust what I deeply know, the more my thoughts, my words, my actions fully, just like the water flowing through me as I'm sitting in the waterfalls doing this meditation, flow. And it's not just me, it's all that I connect with, all that I see, all the trees, all the gravity that connects to going down to the base. So in that way, then I'm connecting not just my consciousness, but all consciousness, all beings, to have this I-A-I-O-U interconnectivity. And from that place, when I think I'm ready to have it all, it's I, not just this separate, isolated self, it's all I. So everything in that holographic ritual that I practice as much of the time as I can now, especially in my waterfall here, has this feeling of connecting me with all that is. And what a beautiful practice. I'm sharing this with you because you were talking about one thing connects with everything, and that was what I'm springing off of to share that meditation, and how now instead of doing it isolated within my own body as the instrument of communication, I feel all matter, all plants, everything around me, everything in me, everything resounding to the same dialogue and conversation of which I'm weaving a very powerful part. So I'm curious how you can speak to that, because that's something I wanted to add to enhance the connectivity and the physical practice with what we're sharing here today as well.
Yeah, so there is some, so let's go with the first one. So your first one is
Horizontal. Yeah.
horizontal. So the horizontal energy is you are connecting to your plane on earth. So when you do your horizontal energy, you're acknowledging this plane.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So now you understand this is a plane, this is a field, and you're on the field and you're on the plane. And so
Yes.
right now, they had you move out your energy to connect to this plane of existence of Earth.
Sure.
Okay, what's your
The
next
first step.
letter? It's A, I.
The next one is E.
Oh,
That
E.
vibrates the neck chakra, the speech center. It's safe for me to share my wisdom, my warmth, my wonder with you. That
Okay,
activating, a feeling of completing grief because there's grief in that area. And also the energy now goes up. This is upward movement. The sound goes up.
okay. So you're at your plane, you had your energy go up, which means you are now connecting to the non-physical. You are now connecting to the celestial. You are connecting to your spirit guides because your energy is going up, celestial, crown, right? So you went onto the playing field. Now you went up, and then what was your next sound?
The next sound is both up and down at the same time. That is activating the I am presence through the core of the spine, both towards the center of the molten earth and up towards the heavens simultaneously. It's the I am that I am. I've transformed that these days because this is my preferred way of expressing it for me, how I see myself, and my role, my mission here is I am that I art. Ah.
Right. So when you go up and down, you are acknowledging the oneness. You're acknowledging the wholeness. You're acknowledging um, the polarity, the yin and yang, the above, so is below, the vortexes. And so that I am is the creator energy. And so they're getting you to practice to go into that oneness field
Yes.
because you are going to the both,
Yep.
right? Because
Yep.
it's
Yep.
always both. You can't
Interesting.
just have one or the other.
In the tarot deck, the card that's number one in the major arcana is the card for the magician. And the magician, the creative presence that activates and integrates and alchemizes earth, water, fire, air, ether, has its one arm and hand down and one arm and hand up. So it's exactly the same multidimensional as above, so below. And when I do that
Mhm.
practice, I'm now watching the trees, feeling the trees flow, the energy and the vital force that flows through the different vessels in the tree, moving up to the heavens and down through the roots, as all consciousness does. So I'm connecting with it now, I may be thinking the thought, I'm ready to have it all. It's not just me. I'm feeling all beings connecting with my seed thought as a holographic repercussion, throwing that pebble in the lake. It all hears me and it resounds.
Yeah,
That's the
very
third
much
sound.
so.
That's the
And
third
so
sound.
the energy going up and going down is, you know, it's the breath in, the breath out, the waves. And so it's very symbolic on many, many layers of the E, or
I,
and the
I,
I am,
the I am present. I, that's the I.
the I,
Yeah,
right? Going down.
that's I. So it's
And then
A, it's horizontal, E, vertical, I, vertical, and up and down at the same time. And the next one is O. I generally like to make the shape of the O here so people can see it online, yet I feel the focus is more through the belly, and that's where the sound emanates from. And it's something about connecting with my gut feelings and trusting sensation as messages and all honoring all circular processes, life, seasons, all beings,
right.
processes that are circular.
So one of the interesting things is because I talk to my guides a lot, and there is no time. However, there are cycles.
Yes,
There really are cycles. And this ascension for humanity was literally written in the stars. And the cycle of us in darkness, whether you think it's 30,000 years or 75,000 years or whatever, doesn't matter. But we're entering a new cycle. And it was agreed upon by all the beings on the earth, the guides, the higher selves, the like it's wild. But this ascension, sometimes I laugh because I'm so caught up in the ascension. And it goes beyond humanity.
yes.
It's just that because we've been really in the dark ages in such isolation and not connected to our guides and not connected to our higher selves, that going beyond thought of just humans is just kind of foreign.
Well, it isn't when practicing practices like the one I'm talking about. And then the last sound after the horizontal the vertical going up like that, the which vibrates a whole area, the up and down I am that I art presence I for all beings. Oh, for all cyclical process that we all are emerging and merging through. And finally, for the roots of the tree and trusting what I stand on, a firm, flexible foundation that supports me and all related thoughts. The sound of like a didgeridoo deepening HU.
And that's great. And that's great that they're grounding. And when you raise your consciousness, so right now you're practicing energy work and you're practicing connectivity and your telepathic psychic abilities in this meditation practice, and you're
Right.
raising your vibration. So this is a beautiful, beautiful practice.
Mm.
And then once one of the delights in my awareness is that I see plants as little animals now, and I'm talking to insects telepathically. And I am seeing the earth as if a layer of film has been removed from my eyes. And it's just remarkable. And and it's funny because it feels almost like a Disney movie. It feels very magical
Well, it is.
that because it is. And it just shows that the awareness or our fear or our doubt and whatnot is just it's just covering us to see the beauty and the true remarkability.
Mhm.
But yeah, so like that your waterfall has a consciousness and you can certainly talk to it, and you are already interacting with your waterfall, but you can certainly talk to it and see how many different consciousness is part of that waterfall.
Yeah, I'll be doing that later today. One of the things I notice, and I do this now as a regular practice, not only throughout each day, yet as a regular joyful discipline before changing gears. So when I leave the waterfall and I'm standing on the rocks, I keep my feet on the ground there and I face out the waterfall and I do the same. Sometimes I do it in silence. It's a movement. It's actually a dance, which looks like this.
Hmm.
And I just do that once. Sometimes I do it 5 times. I do it 5 times in the waterfall, and then one more time all at once. Ah, yeah, oh, with one movement and one continuous movement and one continuous sound. And then I move on and I leave. And I feel like I'm taking that increase vibration, as you mentioned, raising my vibration with me to whatever the next thing is, which is going to my car and driving up the hill. It's really mundane. Yet I'll sit in the car and I'll do another round of ee, I, oh, ooh, to breathe in. And then I'm ready for the next play. And I'm so, as you mentioned, telepathically, clairvoyantly, clairaudiently, clairsentiently, and the other senses too, awakened and open and receptive that it's my preferred way to be. I used to feel more interested in connecting with other humans and getting more, I would say, even entangled sexually. And I have to say that same sexual energy, as much as I still hunger and long and enjoy relating with other fellow humans in that sexual way, this has become a preferred way of connecting through movement, sound, intonation, intention, thought, word, action, all aligned as one. And this has become my way of it's like having sex with the universe all the time, being in this state of fertility and instigation and provocation. And I feel it connects me with my higher purpose and my deepest longings and helps everyone else do the same just by, I always thought about this. What do I want to do the most? Practices all day long, as much as possible, that put me in this state, this zone of radiating this immense joy and creativity. That's why I've shifted the words from I am that I am to what really feels true for me is I am that I art.
Hmm.
I am art. Yeah. So we are all weaving this creative tapestry from the unknown. For me, I'm much more comfortable in this place of the unknown. And then what comes from it, I don't know. But there's a feeling that as long as I'm receptive, I will bring in and I will transmute goodness. As long as I'm open to sounds that are harmonious, I will transmit harmony. So I keep returning to these simple A, E, I, O, U, and nurturing, inspiring, and empowering with those directionalities connected. Again, X, Y, Z. Again, that connects the full multidimensionality of thought, word, and action, interaction, and all realms of existence. How do you
Yeah,
with what I'm saying?
you're so spot on. That's it. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And, as you become into a different state of vibration, you are really managing your own vibration. And when you manage your own vibration, you can have access to different potentialities at a different state of vibration. And so it's interesting. The ascension, the word ascension means up, right? But in really what you're doing is you're going deeper into your own consciousness, to your own soul field, to uh, the oneness. And so I think it's uh I think it's a beautiful thing. And you'll be inspired to do the next thing or anchor it or whatever it is. You're in the flow. You're doing great.
It's been a huge journey. Now I'm 72. When I began this journey consciously, I was 16. I was reading Hermann Hesse, Siddhartha. I was a champion springboard diver. I was studying with the man who brought it from the Europe to the West, Marino, and psychodrama, and improvisational theater, and then court jester work, and with all the body therapy and work I had done on me, out came all this creativity, out came all this poetry, out came all this musing, these prophetic verses and plays, and it came from who knows where. And that was where, over 50 years ago, I said to myself, my goodness, if we are all like this, buried within our own landscapes, and we free the physical layers of tension, the emotional self-talk that keeps those tightnesses and old limitation beliefs in place, then from freeing the physical layer, the emotional layer, then and only then does the creative gifts of expression emerge for all of us. 50 years ago, I made a conscious choice. I didn't have these words back then, yet that's when I know you had some comments about it when we spoke last time. That's when the expression um, began to percolate, and over the last 4 or 5 years, I have been using the expression archaeologist of the soul. That I don't mean to be just talking about the heaviness of being an archaeologist, talking about bringing to light the denser layers, the lighter layers, and then the transformational, transmutational layers of when I am able to turn an upset, a grief, an emotion, a feeling of stuckness into some creative ritual through art, poetry, dance, singing. It has an ongoing, eternal way of freeing all beings from that same place of being held down to something far more magnificent that connects us all. This has become, more and more the journey that I am on, which is more an inner journey, where it started out as an outer journey. Now it's from the inside out that everything makes more sense. To be as alone as possible, because I am already connecting with so many souls, and I no longer seek to be entangled with one being. I feel like my devotion is now shifted to all creation, all life, all matter, all spirit matters, and matters spirit, and somehow being this segue between, and that's where the archaeologists of the soul emerge. So it's more than that. It's lifting people up to places they could never go before. That's the inspiration. Bringing people to places in their own courage to overcome the fear and to take steps to landing the vision. That's the courage, that's the empowerment, and then the nurturing. It actually has to start with the nurturing, because once this is filled, this band, then I have more inspiration and inspired thoughts, and it all then comes in continual downloads. How do you relate to all that?
I agree. Inspired thought is coming from your inner being and your spirit guides. And imagination is critical. One of the things in the class that I teach from the Octurians and from Goddess Isis was opening up the right and the left hemisphere and then cultivating imagination um, with the students, because imagination is really a critical piece, because it allows you to explore and not discount it and shut it down, and you can explore consciousness. Because if you hold on to your logic, you really kind of limit yourself in a weird way.
Yep.
I know logic is revered here on our culture, but logic is um, not to, all our famous scientists, Einstein, Tesla, they were fully aware that they were psychics. They were fully aware that inspiration inspiration again inspiration is your radio, and your guides and your inner selves and non-physical entities communicate through your intuition. And just like the radio plays music, but the music doesn't live in the radio. The radio is the transmitter, and
Mm,
you're the transmitter.
mm,
And the reason why I teach that to attune to the body, and so you're very good at feeling sensations in your body. You're very good at moving your body. You vibrate your body as an instrument, and you understand your body is an instrument, and you play with it a lot.
yeah, of communication.
Yeah. And so once I can get people to understand that their guides not only assist, but they orchestrate a lot in our physical reality to assist us, because our non physical friends, our angels, our guides, our inner beings are in the soul field of consciousness, and they have way more access to information. They have access instantaneously. They can communicate and manifest. There is nothing delaying. And so here on this earth plane, it's a little slower, but it was designed to be a little slower. We do not manifest um, as quickly as sometimes I'm like, what, I'm waiting to like twitch my nose and a car appear, or whatever, right? And but that is fast energies. That's it is possible. It's very much possible, but it's a frequency and vibration thing. So starting off with your intentions. So every day you are doing a practice to connect to consciousness. And then, so even though my class is connect to your guides, right? It's really about the awakening journey. And so once you do connect to your guides, the next piece is to listen. And, some of us are pretty good listeners and some of us not so much, right? So then you practice listening. And then the next piece after that is taking action.
Yes.
And that's really going into the flow.
Mm,
That's co creating with your guides. That's co creating with consciousness.
mhm.
And
And
that becomes very magical.
in the steps from recognizing the connection with the guides, listening, and taking action, what signposts on the way are you conscious for us to be conscious of? Is it the sensations of seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching that we activate that connectivity? Or are there some other practices to continue to awaken this listening and taking action you find useful to share?
Yeah. So, what I would say to you, just like artwork or just like creating a novel, there are phases and stages. There is integration, just like when you learned how to write, or one of the first things that we did was we made the sound b, b, book, b, letter B for bumblebee. Let me draw the letter B. Let me write the word B, B-E. Then I'll write beautiful. Then I write, this is a beautiful conversation today, right? Then I can write a paragraph, a chapter, a novel, and that's what it's like. It builds upon and builds upon and builds upon and
Yeah,
builds upon.
yeah.
So the practice of using your body as a vessel and fine tuning it, you will always use your body in awareness of exploration of consciousness or doing high magic. It's just like math. Like advanced math still has addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division.
Exactly. And when I make these gestures and sounds, intonations that match my intentions, more and more I'm conscious of the many realms of interconnectivity, like a web, that are set in place by sometimes, as in the Sufi tradition. For example, I became a Sufi years ago and given the name Elijah as a connection to my Sufi and also Jewish heritage. In the Sufi tradition, there's in practices there often spoken, then said with sound, and then in silence. And so after I do my sound practices with these directionalities, that becomes a dance in itself, then I do just the gestures as another way of encoding in silence and through a multi-sensorizing, I love that expression, process, a easiest to remember anchoring of the thought, word, action, interaction, the keywords themselves, the sounds, the movements, all of this, even the breathing patterns, breathing out first and consciously breathing in before moving on to the next sound, has transformed my entire way of being with myself and other beings in this world. It's awakened almost a new, I would call it, kinesthetic vocabulary of kinesthetic connection through which I am hearing what I'm saying and I'm feeling what I'm saying and I'm smelling. It all seems to have more impact by multi-sensorizing these expressions through movement, through sound, through word, through imaging. The more senses engage, the more swiftly the new self-talk becomes cemented in the muscular and cellular memory. So this practice that we're referring to today, that goes through the body as the instrument, this temple of communication, has so much more to it than simply writing a novel, doing a painting. It connects all beings. If I do it, that Ho'oponopono practice, what is
Mm-hmm.
it in me that needs to shift for all of this in humanity to shift? And then it's by undoing that, by dismantling that, then everything seems to domino and follow. Not because I tried to change it out there, because I've entered a new frequency, energy, and vibration by conscious choice and conscious practice. Your turn.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. That is that is exactly it. And when you expand and become more aware of your field in your body, and the one of the interesting things is we are inside of source's consciousness. So one of the things the team showed me was I imagine a red balloon, and then we are all inside that red balloon. Nothing is outside that red balloon. We are inside source's consciousness. And what's interesting is just like we're inside source's consciousness, we are also inside our higher self consciousness. It's always the micro and macro. So the air, the room that we're in is really a plasma field. It's really consciousness. We're really in water. And so in the spiritual industry, we'll see two fish swimming in the water, and one fish says, "How's the water?" And the other fish is like, "What water?" Right? Because we're swimming in this field of consciousness. And because our belief structure was so strong that everything is separate, that was the everything was separate. And in that separation, which is so interesting, we pulled the light in that separation. It was the breath out. And so now we're taking that breath in and we're bringing that light and that oneness and unity back. And in that, when you have more light, you actually see more and feel more. It's cool. So think of it as a bedroom, and the light was pulled away from that bedroom source. And as more light comes into that bedroom, it illuminates like, oh my gosh, there's a door at the end of the room. I never knew there was a door. I could never see it. I didn't know there's a teddy bear on the floor. I didn't know, right? Because you're seeing with more light and more awareness even more. And so
Mm,
it's very expansive,
mhm.
and you know, it's 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 a practice. It's a little bit at a time. It is a vibration, it is a resonance, it is an embodiment. Just because I always, with my clients, I say, you can know all the theory that you want, but if you don't embody it and practice it here as you, it's just theory.
Yeah, exactly. When I started this practice of, it started to come through me, particularly sitting in the waterfall where it's most enjoyable, of sitting, I climb down the rocks, I go into a little crevice and there's like a tub where I go back and there's like so much water pushing through it now. And I kind of lay back and I'm engulfed by and caressed by and supported by this huge, about like this volume of water that's pouring over and through my body. And I go through the same, ah, e, I, o, ooh, and I used to just produce the sound out. It was quicker, and I was a little scared. So I would just produce the sounds as though I was first just emanating the consciousness of that horizontality or verticality or up and downality. And it came to me about 6 months ago, wait a minute. I'm so used to identifying my worthiness by being a performer, a producer, what I can bring out there to the world. That's the production of the sound. Wait a minute. As a person that has a thought form connected to I'm worthy by what I put out in the world, how I help, how I transform, how I create, then I went, wait a minute. This Course of Miracles says there's either love on the one hand or a calling for love, sometimes called fear, everything unlike love. So if I practice first from now on, and this is what I've been doing consciously ever since, it takes me much more time. It takes me twice the amount of time because now instead of just exhaling out at each of these 5 different angles, I'm exhaling out, emptying the lungs, and then, just like you said, I'm practicing consciously the joyful discipline of breathing in and focusing on that same area with whatever color it's in the chest. I picture it, the sunrise lifting, like the chest lifting in the morning sky. And then when I breathe that in after the ah, feeling that heartfulness, it gives me in that fresh inspiration, just like you just said, fresh energy, clarity, and literally inspiration that I can come from a higher minded place. And now that I'm practicing that for each of these 5 sounds, ee, ah, that's the best for the low. Ooh, ooh. I feel so much more energy, clarity through that resonance in my residence that occurs through the simultaneous practice of out all the way, then in all the way. Not only raises my vibration, but brings forth clarity, illumination, eyes, uh, ideas, and insight, and more I am presence that I could possibly think about with my conscious mind. The physicality, the viscerality of the presence, the multidimensionality, the multisensorality of the practice totally brings me into this feeling of I am that radiant instrument of transmission and receptivity, like the radio transmitter. All these, and I don't even think about what it means or what guide it is. It's just, for me, the more physical I can multi-sensorize the process through all senses, I don't have to then do a paint. I am that. I am that I art.
Yeah, and so, that inspiration came from your guides, and it was just it was beautiful, and it was perfect, right? And it's what I can say is you'll be doing this practice, and it seems that you'll get another download, and it will be an unlocking of another door,
That's
right?
right. That's right. In my life, when I look at epochs, epoch, epochs, and eras, not errors, but errors, stages of this life, I noticed that in the beginning of its life, I was very physical and gymnastics and springboard diving and track star and do all the things I could physically do with the body. And then I reached a stage with the um, through a lot of emotional release work. I became the body therapist and studied that for years. It was a phase. And in that phase, out came all this paintings and artwork, which I did over 3 or 4 decades. And then that morphed into becoming this court jester. And it was more participatory art and sharing living legends with people. And then that morphed into using those same improvisational, easy for me to say, skills to help other people come stuck from being stuck in their boxes and stuck in their own whatever their thinking process were, then that process has like morphed. And I can never go back. I can still do a beautiful painting, but the phases have moved from physicality through the emotional release, through the creativity, physical, emotional, creative layers, archaeologists of the soul. And then from there, it's moved into from the performance art into the presentation coaching. And now it's what we're doing now, these live transmissions and interactions with fellow humans online, through which, oh my goodness, it's the new era or new stage or epic that I'm at now that is assisting me. And I don't seem to even want to go back. Maybe a song will come through, and it does occasionally. Maybe a painting will come through. But now it's more, at least in terms of what's available to me, videoed online interconnections with fellow humans to transport us to places we never could go before. And that's what this present phase is. Something new will come next. It always morphs into something new, and I never seem to be able to go back to where I was before because I have the added consciousness. It's like in relationships. I've been in a number of relationships and 4 marriages. I always notice that when I release or move on from one relationship to back to myself, my capacity to love myself and the next person that comes along, the downloads that come, is stronger than it was
Mhm.
in the last
Mhm.
incarnation or the last cycle. Comment on that.
That's right. And it really is a cycle. It's an evolution. It is soul growth. It is wisdom. And it's not that, like you said, you can't revisit and do a painting or a song come out, right? It's just that your soul explored it. And so one of the interesting things is source and our higher selves always want new,
Always
want new.
want something new.
They want something new, something new, something new. And it's funny because a lot of us here, we love our routine. We are creatures of habits, right? And but new and exploring and adventure, and it's great, but at the same time we sometimes get scared. We don't feel safe. We don't feel secure, especially if you're not connected to your guides. How could you not believe you're a victim? How could you not believe everything was happening to you? You're in such separation. You're not connected to self. You're not connected to consciousness. You have moments of connection, and that feels really good. And then you withdraw again, right? And somebody who's not aware yet,
Yep,
right?
yep, 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 yep. I keep coming back to no matter what I think, I have it rather than I have to, I have it to return ongoingly as much as possible to these practices. It brings me out of my mind and connects my mind with my emotions, with my physicality, with my
Mhm.
viscerality, with my creativity. It's such a conscious practice and seems to be much more important than what I think and what
Mhm.
I want to do. Yet this practice connects me with all of creation. And one of the songs that came through me once, I love this phrase that comes through in this particular song: creation's visions first. It was from a song that came through about the winds and trusting the winds, fill us with laughter, fill us with tears, trust the voice inside, wake us up to that inner, when that inner calling, this is what I was going to say, is compelling, a smile comes to my face. There's something physical that's a sensation and location that reinforces that whatever thought I had is a good choice because there's an uplift of sensation. There's a feeling of more clarity in my thoughts. My eyes are rolling more fluidly in the sockets. My movements are fluid. And when that happens, I trust that I'm speaking and thinking and I'm acting and interacting from a high minded place. The energy matches, the physicality matches that thought. If I have a thought, I'm standing at the beach and a wave comes in, it's stronger, it's often connected with the thought that's stronger. And I see how these match up constantly throughout my day. In the waterfall, it's even easier because my
Mm.
body is in this amazing jacuzzi and every sound matches a total reverence, or shall I call it rever dance, where the body is vibrating these wisdoms and truths. It's shaking out the old and bringing through the new in such a wonderful embodied physical way. The more I feel it, what's the word? The more you breathe, the more you feel, the more you feel, the more you heal. That activation of this multisensory connectivity seems to be the practice, at least for me for now. I'm sure there'll be more downloads in this body that helps me embody this consciousness and be a stand, a doorway, an openness for all beings.
That's wonderful.
You feel this in your own practices too. Yes,
I
very
do.
in your own way.
I do. Yeah, in my own way. In my own way, my practice in connection to consciousness is felt in my body also. Um, you know, I'm so grateful that I'm at my level of awareness. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful I get to see things with my human eyes now. I'm so grateful that I can really have in-depth conversations with many entities. Um, I'm I'm so grateful that I'm starting to communicate to animals telepathically. Not all the time. Not all the time. I still use my human voice and my body language, but I'm playing more. I'm playing more in this realm. I'm playing more with magic. I'm just I'm understanding everything is a co-creation and everything is reflective and really enjoying my awakening journey. Because, like, when you first awaken, I always say, get a buddy, get a friend, because it's a bumpy ride. Because when you awaken, there's a lot of tears, there's a lot of shedding, there's a lot of cleansing, there's a lot of confusion and then clarity, and it's really a reversal of all your conditioning that you've ever had.
In what way is it a total reversal?
Well, the first one, the first big awakening step is there is no wrong. There is no good. There is no evil. There is no wrong. And everything is love. Like you said, love or calling for love,
Mm,
but it's all love and it's
mm,
all light.
mm, 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 mm.
So that is a 180. What I don't know if what you've been taught, but I've been taught there's good and evil, there's right and wrong, there's rules and behaviors and expectations, and focus on your goal, be a good little girl, don't cause any waves, save for retirement, raise a family, and then die. That's what I was
I don't
taught.
know you, yet I have defied all of that.
Yeah, exactly. But do you know what I mean? It's like I was raised in the United States, so there's always a cultural difference, don't get me wrong. But I was raised like, be a good student, go to college, get a good job,
Yeah, yeah,
get married, have a kid, get a dog, buy a house, pay
mm,
off your house, save for retirement, and then die.
yeah,
No mention of magic. No mention
yeah,
of spirit.
yeah.
No mention of connecting to your higher self.
Mhm, mhm.
Nothing. It was like, this is a physical world and that's it. And sure, there was a mention of a God, but it was also confusing because of all the different religions here, and everyone was arguing about their beliefs. You know, is Jesus going to save you? Do you believe in Jesus? I love getting that question now, because now I'm like, yeah, I do believe in Jesus, and I talk to him, and they're like, oh, though, oh, that's good. And I said, yeah, yeah, I do. I talk to him, and he's really cool. You should talk to him too.
Those things,
Hmm.
these different ways of connecting with source. I was mentioning earlier that in my journey, I find that creating multi-sensorizing rituals to move through any energies, whether it's good, bad, evil, and none of that, whatever is going on, to practice. And notice one particular song at one stage when I sang this song. I've sung this song many times and it came through once all by itself. It's a song you were mentioning about what you're grateful for, called Grateful. I'm going to sing it. And the thing about the song is when I sang this song a number of times, it was not as though I was singing this song. When I really dived into the wisdom that included the song, like that red balloon you talked about, the song was singing me. And when I sing this song, it connects me, particularly as I finish the song, to this statement: the self must know stillness before it can discover its true song. And so when I sing this true song, I find a stillness and a receptivity, and suddenly I'm able to bring through, my fingers are tingling, but as I say this, a feeling of wisdom, wit, wonder, warmth that I can easily return to. So singing the song, I'm going to sing the song now, activates that presence. Here we go. And notice what shifts with you as well when I sing.
Okay.
I'm grateful for the things that last. Grateful for those that pass. Grateful is the song I sing, close to my heart, with full presence of wing. Grateful is this dance we dance, passing through here, our souls enhance. Passing through here, we add good through this place. Our lasting vision, awakening the rays. We're grateful to cooperate, for in blessing together, create beauty in our face. And awakening, radiating joy, 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 through ourselves and one another. We are born to heal and celebrate ourselves and one another.
That's it. That is the instruction manual why we're here.
Say more.
So, if anyone looked at those lyrics, that is really why we are incarnated. And there was a mentioning of spirit guides in those lyrics. And one of the interesting things is we are really co-creating with our spirit guides, whether you're aware or not. I mean, they are really living through us and we are living through them. And, I've heard so is above, so is below. And it has taken me many conversations and greater understanding to really understand that because there is such separation here. I couldn't really comprehend it. I couldn't really comprehend um, why would they be interested with us? Why do they even want to hang out with us, right?
And
And then
what's
I
the,
really
yeah,
understood
why
they
would you?
are us,
Why
right?
are they?
Right. So why are they hanging with us? That instruction manual with that song was to bring joy
Oh,
and experience joy
mm,
here
mm, mm.
and to be grateful. And one of the interesting things, because we were founded on this planet by 4 different galactic species, and we have galactic DNA, which will be activated in our ascension. What one of the interesting things is the Earth school was always a school. When the souls decided to incarnate here on Earth, it was a beautiful Earth. Beautiful. There was It was a very, very, very high frequency magical place. And our parents left us. And, we were one with nature. We were doing psychic magic. Uh, it really was a Garden of Eden. So that story was the earth as a Garden of Eden, doing very magical things. And we fell. We fell into fear. We fell into survival. We fell into our lower ego mind. And greed. Greed is a slippery slope for our species. It really is. It's seductive and it's really calling for love, the greed. But we fell and we rose again and we fell again. When we go into that lower ego mind, that fear, and not into heart. But if you sing that song every day, it's unlocking that remembrance. that
Exactly.
we were here to play
Yes.
and rejoice.
Yes. I love the intersection between prayer and play. And when you said remembrance just now, I like to play with words, being an acrobat and also seeing the wisdom of playing with both the order of words and the essence of words and words within words and uh, creating spells, spelling with words. And
Mhm.
when you said the word remembrance, I'm often enjoying saying the words remember dance. And it makes so much more sense to me that remembrance is in its physicality, in its practice, as I choose to say it, and moving this sacred instrument, a remember dance. The physicality, again, it does. It wakes me up into that portal because it's no longer a thought. Remembrance is cool, yet it's still a concept. It remember dance brings me into my body and it allows me to connect my physicality, my emotion, my creativity, spirit, mind, emotions, and physicality all as one. It's a practice. It's constantly a
That's
practice.
it. And
Yeah,
that's it. And that's it. And so for me, I have to work on my body piece, right? Because I'm very celestial and very um up here, but I have to bring it down into my body and
yeah.
embody those higher frequencies and really bring it into this plane. So I practice going into my heart chakra, and then I imagine spinning my heart chakra, and then my energy from my heart chakra moves out, and I can feel further into the field. So my downloads is also working with energy and also working with my body to open up awareness of energy not only within my body, around my body, and connection, right? And then if you want a restful sleep, because our energy field vibrates out all the time, whether you're aware of it or not. But if you want a restful sleep, you actually go into your heart chakra and turn it counterclockwise, and you will feel your energy come back into your body.
I like that.
And that's just to keep your energy close so that you can get some a restful sleep.
When I go to sleep at night to enhance that process, I have a really fluffy red scarf that I wrap around my eye
Yeah.
center and tie it
Yeah.
back here until there's like it's snug. And that process, because I know where things are in my bed, I turn off the light without seeing
Yeah.
me even deeper into my inner world by the slight pressure around this band around my eye
Yeah.
center. It again coaxes me within when I do go to sleep.
That's awesome. So it's a whole bunch of little tricks, and receiving inspiration and acting on inspiration is very important. And you're doing it. You're so doing it.
It's my preferred activity these days, even though I am online with gorgeous souls like you, compelling, telling, welling, swelling beings of light that speak from the inside out. I have come to prefer my inner practices and I keep returning to them. I remember seeing a video of Mooji, Mooji, the illuminated um, being who lives, I believe, in Jamaica or somewhere in the Caribbean area. And when someone had interviewed him at one point and said, what do you prefer? Your connection with other people or your connection with yourself?" And he said, "It's always about my connection with myself." I always return to, and as I say it now, I have a new view of seeing the word atonement. I used to think that is something sad and grievous, but no, no, no. Atonement is also the same words. the spell within the spelling. At one meant it's the same exact word, but why see it as something that's negative or horrible? No, 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 no. To be at one with myself and life and all creation, it's a state of grace and recreation by participating in this co-creation with all life. That dialoguing has taken over, that dialoguing from within, with within, that inside jobbing allows me to be able to connect much more profoundly with anyone outside. The preferred way of doing that these days is going within, going within, going within. And then I feel the connection without having to try to make that phone call, do that session, do that physical painting, even doing my practices. Yet I have to say, the doingness does bring me into my beingness. The physicalization through seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, then brings me into that stillness that I couldn't seem to get there by just choosing stillness. If the practice awakens that feeling of reverence and reverence.
Which is perfect. So this is why yoga was created, was for us to go within. It's not just a physical exercise thing. It was really for us to go within,
So
to go
beautiful.
within. And so the ascension is just that. It's just humans going within. That's it. I mean, there's more, not for everyone. Everyone has their own soul awakening.
Yeah,
Everyone has their soul purpose
yeah.
and whatnot. But can you imagine everyone connected to their guides and going within and listening to their higher selves and connecting in love to self? Do you really think we'll be warring as a species?
No, impossible.
No.
Impossible. When tuning and toning this sacred instrument, our body, this instrument, this temple of communication, when I practice these tones, ah, ee, I, ooh, ooh, only goodness comes through. I don't have an evil thought, a desire to hurt or kill or get back through grief and shame and blame and anger and pain at anything outside myself. I'm constantly alchemizing all to a higher state. And it is an inside job. When I practice from the inside out, I don't have the neediness to have something come from outside from another being to affirm or acknowledge or reward. It's an inside job. I remember this beautiful story of it's Sunday here, so I'll share this as a simple teaching story that in the speaking circuit and coaching professional speakers and helping people with the awakening of what's really true. I remember this story. It's a simple story, and it goes like this. Once upon a Sunday, there was a father and a son. And the father wanted to take some time, it was his day off, to read some newspapers and have some time in his favorite comfortable chair. And knowing that his daddy had his day off, the son comes running to daddy. Daddy, daddy, I want to play. Oh, son, I'd love to play with you, but I'm reading this newspaper right now. I need some time alone. Appreciate you honoring that. Tell you what, he takes a page of the newspaper. He knows what's on the pages. Here, son. He rips up the page of the newspaper and hands it to his son. Here, son. On this newspaper is a photo of a person. Go upstairs, go to your room, and put the person together, and then come back to me. And he thought, oh, this is uh, actually, that's not how the story goes. Oh, I told the punchline before the story. That's okay. There is no
That's
wrong,
right.
right? So here's what he said to his son. Remove those last few lines. He said, "There's a painting of the world, son, on this page. Take it upstairs, and once you put the world together, son, then come back to me." And he knew it would take the son a long time because the picture of the world, everything was round, and you couldn't really tell the difference between the different edges. It was all round with the picture of the earth in the middle. And so the son goes upstairs, the father lays back. Ah, time to myself. 2 minutes later, the son comes running downstairs. Daddy, 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 I did it. I put the world together. Oh, no time for myself. That's great, son. How did you put the world together? Well, you told me, Daddy, there's a picture of the world on one side of the newspaper, but I turned it over. And you know what? It was really hard putting the world together first. But when I put the person, the human together, that was actually a picture of a person on the other side of the page. When I put the person together first, the world came together all by itself.
That is great.
It's a great teaching story.
That's awesome.